Okay, tonight we are going to look at the distributive property, which is lesson 2-4 in your textbook. Our learning goal for this evening is I will evaluate expressions and compute mentally by using the distributive property. Our vocabulary, there's really only one term that we're going to talk about, and it's rather wordy and difficult to understand. So don't get scared by it. Write it down. And here in a little bit, we're going to kind of put this in Mrs. Roth language. So distributive property is a property stating that multiplying a sum or a difference by a number gives the same result as multiplying each number in the sum or difference by the number and adding or subtracting the products. Whew. So that is a lot of words. So we will break it down here in just a few minutes, so don't be scared by that. So go ahead and pause the recording and write down your learning goal and your vocabulary term. Why do we use the distributive property? Might be a question that you're asking. And one of the answers that I like to give is that the distributive property helps us use mental math in a way that or we don't ordinarily do. So we can break apart numbers to actually multiply in our head, whereas numbers that are difficult to multiply in our head can get a little tricky. So I want you to look at this formula for the distributive property very carefully. And I'm going to have you write both pieces down. And I want you to look and see if you can follow the logic behind it. And look at the letters carefully. Notice that there are letters instead of numbers. So they're using variables. And if you distribute something, what do? Can you think of another word that we could substitute for distribute? In the above example, what letter is actually being distributed, or I might say is being passed out to the others? So if you look at the example above, you're going to see that we have one situation where we have a set of parentheses and we're going to break them apart. And then we also have a scenario where we have one set of parentheses and we're going to break them apart and put them into two. So we kind of go back and forth. So we have one set of parentheses and we're distributing the A, if you can see how the A goes with the B and the A goes with the C. And then we have the A going with the subtraction problem with A times B minus A times C. So in this case, the A is being passed out or distributed to the rest of the problem. So let's see how this works. If I asked you to do these problems in your head mentally, why are you able to do them so quickly? So 8 times 50, 4 times 300, 9 times 40. Did you get those? It's because they end in zeros. So we know that we can take the zero off, multiply the non-zero numbers, put the zeros back on, and we have it. So if I asked you to evaluate mentally 5 times 27, could you answer as quickly? You probably could not. So the key information is we're breaking apart or we're joining together expressions to make mental math easier. So let's look at 5 times 27, and we're going to break this apart. And the first thing that you're going to notice is that we're going to take 27 and we're going to use expanded form. So we're taking 27 and expanding it into 20 plus 7. So notice that I now have a number that's ending in 0, and I put it in parentheses, which implies that we're going to put something beside it and multiply it. We're going to take the 5 and distribute it to each addend, each number in an addition problem. So I'm taking 5 times 20 plus 5 times 7. Do you see how the 5 is the number that's being passed out or distributed to the 20 and to the 7? And I have to have those parentheses, or it would look like 520 plus 57, and that's not our original problem. So when we multiply, we do 5 times 20 and get 100, and we do 5 times 7, 35, and we get 135. If we can break that down in our head, we can do 5 times 27 mentally fairly quickly. So follow my example on the screen and do the same steps for 6 times 32. So remember, you're going to take 32, break it up into expanded form so that you have a number ending in 0, and then you're distributing the 6 and then evaluating the problem. So pause now and do that problem. So here's where we actually can join together and find differences. So I want you to look and see how we have 2 sets of parentheses, and we want to join them together and put that information into one set of parentheses. So I have 8 times 32 minus 8 times 2. Can you tell that the 8 is the number that is being distributed? So first we're going to join the factors and get them in one set. So I take the 32 and the 2, put them in one set of parentheses, and then I'm going to notice there it's a subtraction sign. So I'm going to have 32 minus 2. And when I do the subtraction, I have 8 times 30. Remember again, those parentheses are non-negotiables. You have to have those, or we would have 830, which is not at all what we want. 8 times 30, which is 240 when you multiply. I want you to try 8 times 44 times 8 times 4 by following the pattern that you see above. So you're taking 2 sets of parentheses and those numbers, putting them into one set, and then subtracting and multiplying. So go ahead and pause and try that problem. All right, here's where we are going to take a turn by joining or breaking apart these problems using the distributive property. Use your notes as a tool to help you with these steps. So go back, look in your notes, go back into PowerPoint, do whatever you need to do to find the problems that look like these, and let's see what we come up with, and then we'll do them together. So go ahead and stop and do these 4 problems. Okay, we're going to go back to the 2 practice problems that I gave you and make sure we have some understanding of those before we do these last 4. The first one I had you do was 6 times 32. So remember, this is the number that we're going to expand. So we're going to take 32 and turn it into 30 plus 2, and put our parentheses around here. And here's this nice number with 0. And then we're bringing down our 6, which is the number that we're distributing. So if we distribute 6 to the 30 plus 6 to the 2, we now have taken 32, put it in expanded form, and now we separated it, and we've gone from one set of parentheses to 2. So now I can do the mental math and do 6 times 30, which gives me 180, plus 6 times 2, which is 12, and add those together. 180 plus 12 would give us 192 up here in the corner. All right, so let's get rid of that one. And the practice problem that I gave you for subtraction was 8 times 44 minus 8 times 4. All right, so remember our goal here is that we want both of those underneath the same parentheses set. That is our goal. We're joining them. So it's a subtraction. So right here, it's a subtraction problem. And here's my 4. So my 44 comes down, my subtraction sign, and my 4. And the 8 is the number that I am passing out or distributing to this. So we're subtracting, and that gives us 40. Remember, these parentheses are really important because this shows multiplication. If we didn't have those parentheses sets, we would have 840, which is not at all what we want. We want 8 times 40. So anytime you see a number that is scrunched up against a parentheses, you know that's multiplied. So now 8 times 40 we can do in our head, and that's going to give us 320. So those are the two practice problems that I gave you earlier in the PowerPoint. So let's go ahead into your 4 that I gave you here at the end. The first one was 7 times 46. So 46 is the number that we're going to expand into 40 plus 6. So you should be seeing a common pattern here with this 0. Bring the 7 down. I'm distributing it to the 40, and I'm distributing it to the 6. So 7 times 40 plus 7 times 6 gives me 280 plus 42. So 280 plus 42 is 2, 9, 10, 11, 12. Carry my 1. That gives me 322 on that one. All right, let's check your next one. This is a subtraction problem. 3 times 54 minus 3 times 4. So ask yourself, what number is the same? That's the one we're distributing. We're passing it out. Again, our job is to get those in the same parentheses set. 54, here's your subtraction sign. Bring your 4 down. I don't need a multiplication sign because this number next to parentheses means multiply. So 54 minus 4 is 50. Don't forget these. Bring your 3 down. 3 times 50, you have 150. So see how you did on that one. All right, 9 times 37. I'm going to expand this. Make sure if you're getting any of these incorrect that you stop. Look what I did. Go back a little bit. Change your answers. Correct your answers. That's how we learn. So 9 times 30 plus 9 times 7. So 9 times 30, again, I could do that in my head, plus 63. So I'm going to come up here, 270 plus 63, 3, 7 and 6 is 13. Carry my 1. 333 is what I have for that one. So go ahead and check that one. And we have one more that we're going to look at. 5 times 27 minus 5 times 7. So here we go. 27. Subtract right here 7. Now we have it under one parenthesis set. 5 is the number we're distributing. We're going to do our subtraction, which would be 20. Don't forget these guys. Bring your 5 down. 5 times 20 is 100. So how did you do on those? If you got any of them incorrect, go back and watch the PowerPoint or watch that particular slide of which one you might be having trouble with. And we'll go over more of these tomorrow when we do our homework and we do a little mastery check to see what kind of understanding that we have. I don't expect you to get this the first time. Okay, so we're going to keep practicing until we get this right. So have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow.